What's going on, everyone? This is End Time. Welcome to DFG Chats here on Drama Free Gaming. It is what it says, and it says what it is. We're back on the mic today, and we're going to be picking up our discussion that we had on the previous episode regarding the Xbox business. What they shared with us, what they said, what they didn't say, and I'm going to give you my 2 cents for what it's worth on what I think the gaming future holds. Now, there's so many directions that we can go with this, so I'm going to try to stay laser focused on the rest of the presentation here that Sara Bond, Matt Booty, and Phil Spencer were on yesterday. Now, you probably have heard a lot of videos, seen a lot of videos, a lot of commentaries, this, that, and the other. I'm just throwing my 2 cents in there as a old school retro gamer myself, and just as someone who's looking at gaming, maybe from another perspective, maybe from a perspective where I've had to sit down, question a lot of my decision making regarding what my gaming is going to look like because of the changes that are occurring on these platforms, on Xbox, on PlayStation, wherever we look nowadays. You're seeing an evolution, a progression. I think I would use the word progression over evolution, but a progression of our hobby, gaming. And some of us whom are still enamored with our childhood and want to relive those days, we don't like what we're seeing. And I'm speaking in the plural, and I'm not necessarily relating to those people. I'm trying to look at this with just an open mind. But I can tell you that there are a lot of things that I'm excited about, a lot of things that I look forward to being able to see and experience while I'm still here, while I can still game. And there's things that I'm seeing that I don't really much care for, or at least I'm concerned about. So let's go to the video and let's just hear the rest of what Phil Spencer and company had to share. If you haven't seen the previous video that I made, go check that out. I'll leave a link here at the end of this video. And of course, if you like this content, if it's something that is entertaining, even remotely, give us a thumbs up, at least that. Subscribe if you like. I would like to keep these chats in this format rather simple. I have the ability to put up a green screen, and listen, I'm not going to make this a full-time job. I just want to be a regular guy and just chat with you and just enjoy the conversation. So without further ado, let's get back to the updates on the Xbox business, on the official Xbox podcast, and let's pick up where we left off yesterday. See if this will work for me.
Matt, earlier you were talking about these growing gaming communities, how they're incredibly large and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, I mean, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, I mean, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so great. I think about it, for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right?
Okay, two things that Matt Booty hit on right there. Where are your friends, right? And where is your library? Now, I want to take a moment here to talk about those two things, because these companies, these platforms, or let me use the old word, these consoles, right? When you was on a specific console back in the days, if you was on Sega Genesis and your friend was on a Super Nintendo, well, you wasn't going to be able to swap games. You would go to each other's homes or bring your consoles over to each other's homes, and that's how you was going to experience gaming. That's how we experienced gaming. There was no connection to the internet at that time. There was no crossplay. Okay. And we might even argue that there isn't very much of crossplay happening right now on the consoles, which is a sad thing. But that's how you experience games. And here he mentioned about two things that the gaming community takes into consideration, right? It is, where are your friends playing, and where is your library? And we are influenced by where our friends are playing, especially if they're playing the game that you've been looking forward to having that experience with them and with others, right? When Destiny, Vanilla Destiny came out, I use that as an example. When Vanilla Destiny came out, I chose to play that game on the PlayStation 4 over playing it on the Xbox. And the reason why I played it on the PlayStation 4 was, well, to be honest, PlayStation 4 had locked in exclusivity to certain content in the game that was not going to show up on Xbox until a year later. And I wanted my content day one. I was going to wait a year to go play on the Xbox. Mind you, I preferred the Xbox console, but that particular game that I wanted to play was only going to have the entirety of his content on PlayStation. And so that's where I played. And that's where I wound up making friends and joining a community and a clan and doing my dailies and all that other stuff. So yeah. And it was the only game that I played for an entire year on my PlayStation. As a matter of fact, I had the disc copy of that game, put it in my PlayStation 4, and there was no other game that I played on my PlayStation 4 for the entirety of a year, maybe more, than that game. So that's the power of a game that is dependent on community. And if it's a good game, you're going to play it where your friends are at. Number two, that Matt Booty said here, and we're going to build on this. I'm going to go back to the video here in a moment. But number two that you need to consider is your library. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment, because the way that this generation and gamers today, of now, of this day, I'm not talking about gamers of my time that experience cartridges, okay? And yes, you can argue Nintendo's the only one that is still putting out actual cartridges. And I'm going to be doing a podcast on that and why I think that Nintendo is poised. They are positioned to make a lot of money with the Switch 2 and in the foreseeable future. Just hold on to your horses for that one. I will talk about that and why I believe that that's so. But going back to your collection, the way that I think about my collection nowadays, and gamers, retro gamers and gamers of my era, is actual physical copies. I have actual physical copies of Switch games, of Xbox games, of PlayStation games, Xbox 360 games. I have physical copies of those games that I play on original hardware. And so that's my library. That's what I have. I also have a digital library, and that digital library exists mostly on Xbox. But in these last couple of weeks, I would say, maybe towards the beginning of this year, to be honest, I sat down and I thought to myself, where am I playing? What am I playing? And when I started asking myself these questions, where am I playing? Okay, I play mostly on Xbox. I play on my other systems as well. What do I play? I found myself going back to the same games. And then I said to myself, if I was to lose access to these games, my digital library, because I either did not continue my subscription, paying for a subscription on a monthly basis, or I decided that I no longer wanted to pay, not even for the core level of Xbox, so that I can go on the internet and play games. What's going to happen to that library? And so I found myself just looking at the hard reality and realizing what I already knew, but I kind of put it out of sight, out of mind, that if I don't fill certain requirements to access my digital library, or on the other side of that, a server is taken down, or a publisher, a company decides that they're going to just stop providing that access to that digital library, that library that's on a server or in the cloud somewhere, that's it. I don't have nothing to show for it. All that money, all that time collecting those games, it was for naught. And so, yeah, I don't like that feeling. Do I think it's a reality? Yes, I think it's a reality we're living. And there's some that are right now touting, almost like cheerleading and saying, hey, just accept it. Physical media is dead. I don't want to accept it. The reason why is because I think long term, if we're really talking about preservation, if we're talking about ownership, if we're talking about the ability to go back to play these games or to share with the next generation, we're not going to have that available to us. Why? Again, because once it's gone, it's gone. And that's sad. That just, that makes me sad. And I know that some people who are going to listen to this are going to say, well, I really don't care. It's more convenient. I agree with you. I have more choices to more games. I agree with you. Game Pass is the best deal out there for gaming as a subscriber, to get access to day one AAA titles, day one releases. It's right there. It's not free. Stop using the terminology that you get it for free. No, you're paying a subscription. You're paying a subscription for game access. If you purchase a digital product, you are dependent and beholden to that product, that digital media being accessible, and you are at the total mercies of that service remaining online. That's the bottom line. Okay, let's get on with the video and continue.
Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose to play.
Yeah.
When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible. That's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that, just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've move from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like crossplay, cross progression.
Let me just say this. Their focus is not bad. Their intent to make games bigger. The reality, right, is that it takes a whole lot of manpower, a whole lot of time, and a lot of money to make games, AAA games today. I'm not talking about little indie companies. I'm not saying anything disparaging about smaller publishers and producers of games. I'm talking about the AAA games that we look forward to. It's taking a lot of time, a lot of money. And in my opinion, guys, bigger is not necessarily better. You might disagree with me. If you disagree with me, put down your comments and be nice. Put down your comments in the in the feed and just let me know. Let me know that I'm wrong. If you think I'm wrong and why. But games are meant to be for enjoyment. Games are meant to be fun, to be accessible. And I'm not saying that a huge AAA game can't be fun, can't be accessible. But the thing is that with these games being bigger in scope, in time frame, I mean, I don't have the time. And a lot of gamers don't have the time to sink hours upon hours upon hours upon. I mean, the hours become days and weeks and months. I mean, if you're passionate about your game in a specific title or series or genre, I know of individuals like that, then hey, more power to you. I'm not knocking that. What I'm saying is that most gamers want to jump in and jump out. And you see that with these live service games. You see that with a Fortnite. You see that with a Call of Duty Warzone. You see that with Minecraft. People jump in, people jump out. It's not a campaign that lasts for 150 hours. There's a big difference with that. And we can't forget that gameplay is king. Gameplay is king. So it's not necessarily the hoopla that comes with AAA games that makes games successful. We can get excited about it, but the reality is if a game is not fun, it doesn't matter how many years it took to make that game or how many people worked on the game or how much money was invested into that game. It's going to flop. And we've seen that time and time and time again. And I hope that the industry is learning from their mistakes and they're trying to right these wrongs and make games that are fun. Give us shorter experiences. Yeah, go ahead and make your Assassin's Creed Valhallas and your live service games. Go ahead and do that. I'm not saying not to do that. And I'm not knocking any game that I mentioned here off the top of my dome. What I'm saying is that make games where the average gamer like me and like countless other people can jump into and enjoy. Let's get on with the video.
And the things that we're doing with cloud, how do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Power World. Power World was able to launch, they were a game preview, they launched in Game Pass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, Pocket Pair was able to have this outsized success, and it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview, we have the consoles, we have our experience on
I just heard the word retail. Yet, if you saw my previous video, Phil Spencer talked about how in 10 years, the exclusivity of games on consoles is going to shrink, because it has shrunk right now to the point where a lot of people, again, they're touting it, they're cheerleading it, they're trying to convince others by saying, "Hey, physical media is dead." And I'm surprised that she said retail, and she kind of stuck it in there, right? As far as sharing with us supposedly what the options are that we as gamers have. Right now, retail, if you looked at the news, Best Buy's decided to remove all of their physical media, all their movies, and so they don't sell any more physical media. That's removing options. That's not giving us options. And right now, there are games that are coming out only digitally. There's no physical copies. It's all, the trend is already kicked in. And unless a publisher like Limited Run Games or others have a passion to create a hard copy of a game. Listen, even the games that, and I learned this recently, even the games that Xbox puts out now, that disc that you have is the game is not on the disc. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but the game is not on the disc. The game is only a key so that you can access the game, and that game has to be downloaded. So the game is not actually on the disc. Okay. It's not like a Nintendo Switch cartridge where that game is actually on that cartridge. Again, it's not giving me more options. You're limiting my options when you're taking away the physical media or the opportunity to obtain physical media. Here's another example of how ridiculous this is, where Cuphead, a game that has been out for many years, I mentioned it in my previous episode, but a game, Cuphead, that's been out for many years, never got a physical release. And then 4 days ago, 5 days ago, a week ago, whatever, it was released. Or maybe it had a physical copy on other formats. I'm not sure, but it was released. A physical copy was released for the Nintendo Switch. It sold out like almost immediately. When I only found out about it because I saw it on a YouTube video, and the guy who was making the video, I forget his name now. I wish I would have remembered so I can give you credit. But he was saying, "Hey, I just picked this game up and was lucky to get it because it sold out everywhere." And I turn around and go look for the game, and the game is being posted on different sites, and I'm not gonna name any sites here, but it's being posted and going for $140, and people are buying them. Why? Because they want it as part of their physical library. It's interesting how Xbox talks about choices, but they're taking the physical media away. No, I just let's just move on with the video.
PC, and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that
Beyond
hardware plays
the
for creators,
console,
for the games and
beyond
those
the
communities.
console.
What about
It's
the
the
role that hardware
platform.
plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
Let's talk about hardware
When we
now.
look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen.
I'm going to say this real quick, and I'm going to play the video. Our consoles, PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, you realize that they are only budget level, entry level PCs. That's all they are. They're put in a box and they are closed in, and you and I can't really upgrade them. But that's what they are. They're PCs, entry level PCs. And so there you have it. If the goal of continuing hardware, making hardware, is so that developers have a starting point, an entry level to make their games, to build their games so that it works on that box. It's not for the purpose of it remaining on that box. It's so that then it can go elsewhere and be scaled so that it runs on PC, so that it runs on tablet, so that it runs on mobile. That's the plan. That's why consoles are not going to go away. That hardware is not going to go away. Again, because of the plug and play aspect. Not everyone is going to convert to PC. Not everyone is going to go out and build a gaming rig. People just want to plug something in, plug a controller in, plug it into the wall, and give me my games, whether that is through the cloud, through streaming, through a digital service like Game Pass. That's the reality that we live in right now. But it comes with a price. We're giving up true ownership of physical media. We've traded it in for digital. And I'm not saying this because I sound gloom and doom and I'm against it. It's just something that you need to be realistic about and aware of, and ask yourself, am I okay with this? If this is this going to be my way of gaming? Do I want to go this way, down this path? Or am I okay where I'm at? All right, let's continue.
Because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before by nature, thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware
Something
generation.
coming this
which makes
holiday.
it better for players and better for creators and the
And
visions
more
that they're
power
building.
in the next
And then when we're talking
generation.
about hardware too, there's these other considerations that are really important to our community.
I have to stop it there. This more power, I'm not interested. I'm actually still waiting for something to blow me away on my Xbox Series X and on my PlayStation 5. There's been awesome games that have been remastered or remade or whatever the term is that is correct. But I don't feel that this generation, which we're 4 years into, we're at the mid cycle, and PlayStation already came out with a slim version. I mean, before you know it, we're going to be done. It's a 7-year span right now on consoles. So Xbox knows what they're doing, but the narrative, we need to change this narrative. don't talk about more power and generational leap, because that hasn't happened in quite some time. It didn't happen this generation. It didn't happen the previous generation. I remember just thinking about it now. I remember when I got a 360, an Xbox 360. And I remember when I toggled from 720p to 1080p on my screen, and I saw the difference. Now I could have went back further in my past and said, yeah, I remember from Nintendo to, the Dreamcast and then on and on. But I wanted to give a more kind of sort of recent example. There were leaps and bounds, but not recently, not for quite some time. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. Be nice, put it in the comments. But I think that most people will agree with me. I haven't seen some generational leap, not on consoles. Okay, let's go.
Probably to each one of ourselves as well, when you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. As we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So
all right,
what can we say about our stance
around
game preservation?
Yeah, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced back compat coming to Xbox One. Like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. Slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that, and online. One of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like, I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally, it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play, is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward, is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think
So his response, right? Talking about backwards compatibility, and we might have talked about this in the previous episode, and the perk that you get because you buy it on on a console, you can play it on PC and all that other stuff. But guys, I'm not gonna kick a dead horse here. Respecting your library, keeping the servers, the availability of those games for as long as we can. Ultimately, all things come to an end, and it will not be cost efficient for them to continue to have this indefinitely. Eventually, they're going to move on. Eventually, your games will no longer be there if you have them right now in a digital library. I wish there was a way that they would be able to afford us to somehow download these games and burn them, officially somehow to a disk that we could put into hardware, right? That would be dope. I don't even know if that exists or not. And I'm not talking about pirating games and copying, bootleg games. I'm talking about officially being able to do this and it coming from them, meaning coming from Microsoft, coming from PlayStation, so that we wouldn't have to to jump through all of these hoops and try to figure this stuff out. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the people that take the time to develop these kits and these emulators for us to continue playing some of our older stuff. But again, remember what I said in the previous video. It's about making that money. Money makes money, and that's what this is all about. It's the continual growth, and this is the direction that we're going in. All right, let's go.
We've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
When you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are. And I think most importantly,
it's a good thing.
Xbox is a place where when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful. And creators
they definitely
more successful,
have been building
so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all the time.
That's why they're leading the charge.
That investment in the studios,
and we can't hate them for that.
And we feel that as part of first party with the platform proximity. It's kind of amazing now to look out.
I don't hate them for
across
that.
all the studios we've got, and just be reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox.
And they keep hammering
this 2024,
that point.
the year coming up,
day one.
We've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff.
One.
Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion.
Accessible.
We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game.
Platform.
And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming up pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that.
That's going to be right around the corner.
Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's the rest of the Xbox business podcast presentation, whatnot. Again, you've probably seen more condensed videos on this. It took me 2 videos to do it because there was a lot to say, a lot I wanted to say. And also, technical difficulties on the first one. That video didn't want to continue playing for me, but bottom line, what did you anticipate hearing, and what did you hear? What did you get out of it? What was called to your attention? As I wrap up this episode and this time here, I want to say this. It is the direction that Xbox has been going in for quite some time. It is the message, whether they have been clear about it or not, that they have been giving us for quite some time. And PlayStation is going to fall in line. PlayStation, even now, are talking about and acting upon being more aggressive and putting some of their titles on PC, titles that have been out for quite some time, and now putting them on PC so they can reach a bigger audience. Again, there's people that will never play on a console. I was the opposite. I've always played on a gaming console and said to myself, I'll never play on a PC. And now I've built 2 gaming PCs. It's the second gaming PC that I have, and it's a souped up gaming PC. And I still do most of my gaming on consoles, but I have a gaming PC, and I'm glad that I have it, because honestly, as a gamer, I had this conversation with Jay, with Dark Dad. Shout out to him. that any game that is a live service game that I am looking forward to play, I am not going to purchase it on Xbox. I'm not going to purchase it for Xbox, nor am I going to purchase it for PlayStation. I'm going to purchase it on the PC. So when Monster Hunter Wilds drops, I'm getting it on PC. When Dragon's Dogma, I believe that's a live service game, comes out, I'll be getting it on PC. Why? Because it's a live service game. It's a game that eventually, after I'm done with it and after that service is done and they pull the plug on it, I'll be okay with it. I won't have a disc, right, that doesn't even have the game on it to begin with, but I won't have a disc for a coaster. It's a live service game. So I played on PC, and not to mention that one of the reasons why I canceled my subscription to Game Pass, not for anything negative, but I decided that I no longer want access to an infinite amount of games, that I'm only going to add to my backlog of games that I've purchased digitally and I haven't played. And also, as well, I don't want to pay anything just to be able to play online with my friends. I can play online with my friends on a PC because I already have internet service. If I stay with Xbox, if I stay with PlayStation, and even just pay them a subscription on a monthly basis, I'm paying them an additional fee for the accessibility to play online. And I can do that on my computer. And I can play on my PC with a controller. So, I mean, problem solved. And I've known these things, but now being more practical about things and seeing again how the landscape is changing, those are some of the choices that I've made and some of the things that I've resolved. And I just share them here with you in case, in case it sparks something in your mind and in somewhere in your thoughts, and gives you something to contemplate about regarding how your gaming is going to look. Share with me in the comments if any of this that we discussed and we shared here, whether it was comments that I made or whether the video that we saw, if any of it made you think differently. And stay away from the drama, the speculations, and that's what the internet is built on: speculation and rumor mills and all that drama. And here we keep it drama free. Anyways, those are my closing thoughts. Stay tuned for my next video and the videos to follow. I'll continue talking about this wonderful hobby of ours, this gaming hobby, and hopefully bringing to you a different perspective. I won't say unique, but a different perspective. Maybe I'll be able to share with you things that possibly others are not talking about, or it's not being highlighted or given attention to because maybe it's not that exciting. Anyways, that's enough for me. Appreciate each and every one of you guys being here. As always, do good, be good, and remember to keep your gaming and your life drama free, people. I'll catch you on the next one. Later.